Hello, lovely. Today is Monday, July the 10th, 2023. And yesterday we began the Red Earth wave spell and 52-day cycle. And today we are on the day of new learning about our emotional story, primarily. It's a lunar day, the moon. So yesterday we began Red Earth, and today we're here with White Lunar Mirror. And this is my dad's Mayan sign. He's no longer on the planet, and he's intrinsic to the astrology that's coming in today. So Mars in Virgo, which I'll get back to in a moment, the astrology. I was intending to do a video yesterday, and I had 52-day process beginning with people, and I haven't been doing this for a while because of my own personal circumstances, because I've been traveling. So I was a bit rusty, and again, getting back into the groove. Also having to update and be updated by technology. I do all of my work myself at the moment. So I am okay on the techie stuff. And this is key, I think, to what's happening now on the planet to most of us, is if we don't have a team around us to support us and we have to do everything ourselves on a timeline, it's absolutely impossible to do. With the Mayan signs, so I'm a blue hand, one of the shadows is not completing things and scattered energy, not having things finished. This is key to the ADHD pattern or the ADD pattern, the inability to complete, to connect, to focus, really. That's funny, isn't it? Just as I'm saying that. So, yeah, and reasons behind that are due to trauma, not being able to ground, not being able to feel safe. All these things for Red Earth, huge. And so a lot to talk about in this first 13-day cycle, because this 52-day cycle is going to be monumentally massive. And of course, it's a mastery teaching. So just to go back to Red Earth. So Red Earth is here. It's the 17th Mayan sign out of 20. The planet is Uranus. And it's twinned with White Wind, which is the second day of the overall calendar. So new learning coming in from spirit, from the place of truth, from source. This is where we are realigning with, because for thousands of years our codes have been corrupted, our behaviors have been corrupted, and we've been so out of balance with the majority of people living a life that is not in any way aligned to truth and joy and feeling happy, because of the way our society is so corrupted. Okay, so because it's a 17th sign, the 17th sign, that means it's the first 13 are all about the human being process, in my understanding. So just showing my perspective on this. I've been doing this since 2011, working every day with the calendar, and I learn something new every day. So yes, as we heal, as we shift, as we change, our conscious awareness changes, and different information flows through us with the Skywalker. We have a conduit. Okay, and apologies for any background noise that's going on. I've got a limited time period to do this video, so I'm just going to go. So the next 7 that complete the 20, they're what I call the solar seals, and they are building. Again, it's not hierarchical. You know, they're all essential. We are all essential to the process, whether we're awake or not awake, or wherever we are on the path, we're part of this bigger picture dream spell, the holograph. And today is all about the holograph and how it has become distorted because of our emotional stories, because of our parents' emotional stories, survival issues, and how we start to heal that in us. That's why we're here as a survival to make those changes. And so Red Earth process, it's in the yellow castle. So remember, we started up here in Aquarius on the 3rd of February. That's what it's all about. Becoming emotionally free through healing. That means honoring our emotions and not being a projection, which we all are to some degree, and we become more consciously aware of that. And as we heal that, then we become a clear soul, we become clear and free codependency and corrupted code. And it's a challenging process. So back then, that's when it was initiated. We went through 52 days of Red Dragon, our survival issues, and how much we are in alignment with the galactic sun that's bringing in this new evolutionary code. And remembering that everything is part of this evolutionary code, no matter how challenging or wrong or dark it seems, it is there for our conscious evolution. And the more we become aware of how these tools work, so galactic codes, astrology, how our human being body works, how it processes information, how it stores information, and how it survives, and how our brain works in terms of different parts of the brain. So the amygdala keeps hold of those trauma stories, small trauma stories as well. And they are definitely inherited stories because of our genes and because of our environment and who we grow up with, and so on. And I believe this is totally on track with the process because we do live our parents' or grandparents' stories. And the more we become aware of that, the more we can change. But in the first 52 days, we've had that awakening. We then went on to refine it, and they're creating heaven and earth red sky walk for 52 days. We've been through an amazing transformative time of Red Serpent. Again, we just had this going into the center of the Zoltan, the spinal column, and the 10 portals. All of these are akashic record, their galactic activation portal days, where we can see how we're still playing a role. And on the flip side, how we're getting more in touch with our soul to let go. And then we came out, which we just completed Yellow Seed, another 10 portals, and we're now in the manifestation, we're now in the flowering, we're seeing where we are because of all this. And then finally, we'll go into the green castle of the heart, the overtone castle, where we get to work with a lot of magic. And as I said, a lot of magic coming up. The other thing to mention is the 20-day processes that run the full Mayan sign process, where they go from Red Dragon and they go to Yellow Sun. So as we process and transform our emotional moon story, we let go of our shadow, we hold more light, we change our behaviors, we change our belief systems, we rewrite our code on the inner level, using emotional freedom techniques. That I use, it works, and I've been doing it for a long time, since 2007. And so again, this will again highlight with the astrology. The more you become an expert on your own patterns and codes rather than everybody else's, then the more you will understand how your process works, and you will tune in more. As you get clear, you will see more. Because remember, everything is actually happening all at once. And when we transform the old wounded story, we get to live a different reality. So 1 and initiation is that one. So we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the central spinal column, what's resonating. 8 is where we're at. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're just coming to the end of the 8th column. So we're integrating all of this right now. And we're going to go into number 9. And so we're going to go through a gateway process. So we've only got white mirror, number 18, blue star, number 19, and number 20, yellow sun, where we start a new 20-day process in this first 13-day process. So a lot going on in this first 13-day process, as I said before. But white dog, the next one, absolutely huge. This is where it's all going down about the, and of course it will, because that's, again, the pivotal center point is white dog. Number 13, that is the epicenter of the zodiac. And this is where we're clearing these old stories so we can align with Sirius. Sirius gateway open. We just had the 7-7 portal. And so again, in order to really access this and access what people are talking about, 5D living, it's inner work. It is not something that you do with your head. And it, you know, you can't just think something into reality. You can't just say a positive affirmation and hey, presto, that's going to be your life. This takes much deeper work, much deeper restructuring than that. And so that's my experience. And I've been studying psychology for 30 years now, and lots of modern new ways, energy healing, to deal with this quantum past trigger trauma keeping us stuck. So if you want to know more about that, please do get in touch with me, because I love sharing these tools. And if everybody started to work on their own personal stuff, using tapping every day, EFT, then the world would be a different holograph. And again, once people really understand these fundamental principles, the holograph cannot change unless we change. And we've been programmed to believe all sorts of untruths that serve our society. So it's really key to understand that the people who are in power have people who understand how the human body works and how to hijack it. And often we hijack ourselves unconsciously. And we can still hijack ourselves in terms of we can still do behaviours that aren't in our best interests for our health, for our wealth, for our sovereignty. And as we are coming into the Leo gateway, coming from the 8th to the 8th, as we come into the Venus retrograde, all of this, I'm not going to talk in depth about that because that's not in this wave spell, but it will be coming in the next one. It will be coming in the new Mayan year, huge year that's coming up in the Mayan year. white overtone wizard, and it shall how we really master empowerment by clearing anything that's getting in the way, that's clogging that channel, that's old story. The universe is aligning with us now. This is the trip of a lifetime. This has never happened in our lifetime before with the Venus retrograde. Again, if you want to know more about this, if you want to know more about your personal coding, please do get in touch. And for women, I have a new moon circle, which is so massive. This new moon that's coming up on the 17th. It's going to be on Zoom. I'm going to have 2 Zooms, one to suit the UK at 7 p.m. and one to suit the US at 7 p.m. So I'm in Florida, I'm in Eastern time, and so I'm gearing up for all audiences as much as I can. If you're in Florida, if you're in the Naples area and you want to come personally, you can do that as well. So it's going to be my first in-personal, because new moon in Cancer, it's time for planting seeds. So this is the card that I drew, the hologram for the 52-day process of Red Earth. And this is one of the most powerful magical ways that we have. Just look around us, see what's going on, how we're interacting with people, how we're relating. Because remember, we're following on from the relationship 52-day process. How do we relate to ourselves? How do other people relate to us? The energy now, we have to choose truth. We have to choose to align. There's no middle ground. There's no, I'm going to be a victim. There's no, I'm going to plead ignorance. We have to do our due diligence on everything that we put into our body, everything around toxic relationship. Many things are crumbling now, and the structures are not there in the old way to support us. So health, for example, which means we need to take really good care of ourselves so that we don't get sick. Remember, each day, what you do is a fractal, and it counts towards your future. Be, do, have. So the holograph. How am I projecting out my story, my belief system? The universe can only bring us what we believe to be true. And the top cards for then were Ace of Swords. So mindsets, thoughts, beliefs. This is what runs everything in our body on one level and creates thoughts running through our body that create our body over and over again. And we absolutely can change our thoughts, we can change what we believe. And sometimes they're unconscious, which is the way spell really helps us to track our code. And so each 13-year cycle that we're in, so for example, my Red Earth cycle is from when I was 18 to 30. And so today I'm 19. And so again, if I'm not sure of something, I can tune in and start saying, okay, what happened when I was 19, my 19th birthday, and that year onward? Because 18 and a half to 18 months is a really huge time in our life of the North Node. And that's where we're headed for in this lifetime. So we've got a personal North Node. And often at that time, we will have something that wounds us deeply around leaving the family, heartbreak, heartache, a new awareness, a new experience that doesn't feel good. This is what I call the Persephone path. And I've run workshops for women for a long time around this code. And when I first started it, I didn't even realize it was an North Node. No, I just intuitively felt to start doing it. And then over time, I learned the astrology. So I don't learn things by rote. I learn things as and when I need to learn them. And coming into the circle and the spiral and downloading and being present what you need at the right time, coming in, trusting that process and starting to do due diligence. That's a whole different thing. Okay, so back to source. Defeat. Very powerful again. How do I feel defeated? How do I master defeat? What exactly is defeat? Is there any such thing as defeat? And you see that sort of in a battle language. And again, this goes back thousands of years. In terms of red dragon and white mirror, the sword of truth. And so cutting away any ideas about how we feel, because it is all about how we feel in our sovereignty. Do we feel confident? Do we feel loved? Often we have learned that we don't feel that throughout our whole life, maybe. And until we actually start to heal that, then the universe will reflect that and our behavior will reflect that. So examining that, when people talk about failure, again, going to the feelings is very important. How does it make me feel when I don't achieve what I want to achieve? And also, it's Mars in the chart. How do I push, keep on pushing when actually I'm not meant to be doing that, but my programming tells me I should be doing that? You know, so it's remembering that a lot of the things that we have been conditioned to believe are not true. And it's important to bring this to conscious awareness, heal it, and create new belief systems. Okay, so the Fool, which is a combination of all of the cards. How do we get clear? How do we get to ground zero? So we had Pluto going into zero of Aquarius. The new age coming in, of course, it's gone back into Capricorn at 29 degrees at the moment. And so we're still going over on ground around our patriarchal stories. In terms of the Fool, if you look, there's an amazing card. It's the Green Man as well. It's our innocent self, our naive sense. Are we being foolish? Have we got delusions and illusions? That's part of the Neptune process. Neptune going retrograde. So we're going over old stories again. And as Venus goes retrograde as well, what we value, what we love. Have we sometimes been hoodwinked because we don't see people's dark agendas, because it's not in our psyche? We can even think that story up. Now we're seeing so many different stories playing out. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card for today. Okay, so we've got the new learning coming in, what's coming in for us about the holograph, about our illusions and delusions. Let's sort of see what the universe says. Okay, love that. The language of light. Okay, so I've met some characters in my time at Glastonbury. If you've never been to Glastonbury in the UK, there are some amazing characters there. And I do remember meeting some at the tour, Glastonbury tour, which, again, 52 ley lines going into Glastonbury, the heart chakra, the third eye chakra. And people, one guy, an Aquarian, actually talking about the language of light and speaking it. And it didn't resonate with me. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so again, lots of people not doing their inner work and not being grounded and not doing the roots of their tree. So, you know, the veil is really key, the solar plexus, power issues, which we've really been going through with the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio, the sacral relationship, and the base chakra, the root chakra, how we connect to the earth. I've been having lots of issues there. And again, the more that you get clear, the more that you align, you won't be able to be around toxicity. There's been a lot of toxicity in my environment, people using all sorts of chemicals in my environment. Sorry, I keep wiping my face, but it's about 97 degrees, I think, here today. Okay, so, yeah, and I can't tolerate it. I made a huge shift when I went to Glastonbury, especially with the water. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment as well. So the more we get clear, we have to create different holographs for ourselves. Okay, so the first card, White Mirror, the Hermit. Okay, so again, this is so perfect for today. And again, if you look at these cards, there's so much symbology in there. You've got the sperm, you've got Cerberus in there, and, you know, guarding the gates of hell. Mars has gone into Virgo today. So this is all about Virgo, and lovely, lovely card. Number 9. How to go within, how to be still, how to connect to source, the truth. So I'm going to leave it at that because we've got major arcana straight away. I just want to say on my last video as well, I've been doing a detox on healing my sugar addiction again. And in just over a week, I've lost half a stone. So I'm feeling so much better for that. And I haven't been doing loads of exercise. That's all I've done is, again, cut things out, and you'll start to really notice the difference. What we put into our body is so important. And over the years, my goodness, have I put some toxic stuff in there. Okay, so I've got loads of notes. There's a lot to say, but I'm not going to cover all the retrograde and that, because that's going to really feature in the next wave spell. So I'm going to do another video when we go to White Dog, and I will talk more about that then. But if you want a heads up, if you want to know more, you want to have a reading, all your galactic codes, all your mind sign, check out my webpage, playwithjo.com, and contact me if you want to know, have a heads up for yourself, which I think is wise to know what you're going to be working with. Okay, so Mars in Virgo, so perfect for Red Earth. We've gone into the sacred feminine. Again, double-sided sword to use the white mirror language. So we've always got the light language and the truth, not the subjective truth, the truth. And we've also got the dark side and the shadow side and the distortions. So Virgo is very much connected to Chiron. And we have got, Chiron is going to be going retrograde in Aries, and it's been in shadow since, I think it's March the 29th. So really highlighting Eris. Now, on a personal level, Eris is the discontented fairy within us. So the one who didn't get invited to the social occasion, usually because we have a way of talking about things that challenges people's belief systems who want to stay in the old way. Let's put it that way. So times when we've been disrespected, when we've been controlled, manipulated, this is all part of the sacred feminine. And where we're still holding that anger and that vulnerability, that upset, and huge stories coming up around that now. where we are being led into a way of living on the planet by the people who had money, basically, as it's been for thousands of years. But it hasn't always been this way. And it's remembering that we are all involved in that process, but we have to make wise choices about how we interact with other people in relationships who allow this. And sometimes that can be very challenging if it's our survival, our very survival, which it has been for thousands of years. So the more that we clear, the more that we come into the present, we're not projecting our storyline, we're not coming from a place of fear. Virgo energy can be very fearful, nitpicky, and stuck because it's earth energy. And so in terms of my energy, I have more earth in my sign than anything else, which can mean I'm very grounded. It can mean I get stuck. It can mean that I embody things quickly in terms of my body. I can get sick really quick as well because I have Virgo in my 7th house and I have Venus in Virgo at 29 degrees. So that's key to me making shifts in health, in my relationships especially, and my relationships to myself. And so my mum has North Node in Virgo at 29 degrees, and North Node in Virgo is big. It's big for trauma. And we have had huge trauma in our family line, as most people have. And so becoming very aware of that and seeing the light of that, of why we're here at this time in order to transform that. So Virgo, when we clear that more and more, we come into alignment with the sacred feminine. When in Red Earth time, I went to Crete and I really connected to a different way of life. I was looking for a different way of life in the UK. I knew I wasn't happy in what I was doing. I knew there was much more to life than that. And that set up a great pattern for me, having the courage to do that as well and go and do something different to what the majority of my contemporaries, and again, to promise to be anything but ordinary in this lifetime, because this is what we've come here for. And we've had many lifetimes of being extraordinary as well. And we've had many, many times of suffering. So again, in your North Node, South Node, this will show up as to your soul mission in this lifetime and which house it's in. So for that, it's a real key area to look at. So Red Earth is symbolic in terms of it has iron in the land, and that's what makes it red. In Somerset, there's many places of Red Earth. So in Glastonbury, around Glastonbury, more sort of on the outskirts, really. I think there are some patches in Glastonbury, but more going out towards Milverton is I know has really, really good Red Earth and around that area. So Sedona also has. So it means there's lots of iron in the land. It means the St. Michael line, the masculine line, the ley lines that run all over the earth, which again we've had in our body as well on the micro. They are key to iron. And iron is very key to making the blood red and the bloodlines. And again, can't talk too much about this because it's huge, but just go and Google it. There's so much out there about bloodlines and why we have red blood and how red triggers us as well. So when we get triggered, primarily, if we've got blood loss, it means potentially we could die. So we've got to really address that. And so becoming very aware, do you really want to have a red car? For example, do you want to paint your room red? Do you want to wear red clothes? It goes so much deeper once you become aware of the vibration and how it affects your biology. Now, on the flip side, Venus is copper. And again, some places have a deficit of copper. And in terms of people who are anemic and not being able to transform what they're eating into iron, for example, there's a whole story around that. So I encourage you to do some research on that because it's huge. So we have this red earth process going on, coming into balance with the masculine and the feminine. That's so important. And coming into our sovereignty. So today, in terms of the codes, we have got, as I said, Mars going into Virgo today. We've got the moon today is at, as I'm making this, is at 25 degrees of Aries, and that's very key as well to focus on. So that's hitting my sun sign and also my Jupiter in Gemini in my 5th house, which is usually in the natural astrology, that would be Leo. Not usually, it's a wrong word, but in the natural astrological wheel, that's Leo. So again, the more you know about your codes and what's coming up with the moon, especially what's coming up with massive transits like we've got going on now, and the North Node changing on the planet, how it affects your chart is really, really important, because then you're going to be able to work with it on a whole different level. We've got the sun at 18 degrees of Cancer today. And so again, add those together, that's number 9. And also today's code, number 18, white mirror. The 4th house is very key as well. And so that's where my North Node in Gemini is. The home, how we grew up, how that affected us, that affects our whole life. So understanding what's in the 4th house. And if you choose to take part in the workshop, you will get a chart for this. So you'll be working with this conscious awareness. And I will make a separate video for that, just to highlight exactly what we'll be focusing on. But these new moon times are so important to set intentions and work magically. Venus is at 25 degrees of Leo today. So again, as in the moon, this is magical. This is a really fiery day for these energies. And when you add 25 together, you get 7. This is the mystic. This is resonance. This is blue hand in terms of mind calendar. Mars 0 at Virgo. What's healthy? What's grounded? When it's at 0, it's exciting because we've got the possibility to create a new circle of influence, new boundaries. And of course, we've got Saturn in Pisces at 6 degrees retrograde. And so again, coming into balance, the Christ consciousness, what do we want to create? This language of light, how do we actually live it, walk the talk? We've got Jupiter at 10 degrees of Taurus, so we're seeing the manifestation where we are. What's the bullshit? What isn't the bullshit? What's the truth? What's the manifestation? And again, Virgo is a reality check. So my dad had Virgo rising, as I've said, and he could be extremely critical. He was right on the border, on the cusp of the end of Gemini, beginning of Cancer, at the summer equinox. So some days, some years, he would be actually on the equinox and some not. And so how he was critical with me really affected me, because he never looked at the positive in me and applauded that. He always focused on the stuff that where I hadn't achieved. And that's been a theme throughout my life. And that's taken me a long time to heal that, even though I've had an intellectual awareness about that. And again, I'm not blaming my dad, you know, that he grew up in an environment where that is what he experienced. And also that he thought he was being helpful, you know, in showing me the error of my ways and my shadow. And he had Moon in Leo. So partly in our journey together, we had a lot of, what's the word? Well, fire, argument, not being in alignment, and me challenging him on his beliefs. And I know he did find that challenging as well. So all of these lessons, you know, bringing that into the now and how we work with those and how we do them. Chiron today is at 19 degrees of Aries. So again, add those together. Number 10, what's the manifestation? And as I said, at the moment, stationary, that's going to go retrograde soon. I'll check on the dates. Uranus at 22 degrees of Taurus. So very key today because, as I said, red Earth planet Uranus, 22 degrees, master builder code for the sacred feminine, 2 and 2 is 4. And how are we illuminating what needs to change, what light's coming in here around our story, what's actually manifest for us, how have we played a part in that, and what part can we own, what part can we take our power back and change it. Neptune's at 27 degrees of Pisces, so again, number 9, and that's retrograde, and Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn, also retrograde. So 9 and 11, going through these gateways. Okay. And let me just check on moon day. So we're in cosmic moon. Of course, we're wrapping up. I'm just using a decoder to find out. So moon 13, day 13. Okay. Love it. So what needs to shift, you know, clearly. So just back to my notes, bear with me. Okay, so July, Cancer, the structure, number 4. So we're really focusing on the structure of our home, our feelings. We're at the last degrees of Mercury in Cancer. And so how we notice that we're really emotional around certain people, events, what's happening in the world. And do we hide that? Have we learned to cover up our emotions? Have we learned not to be authentic with people, to cry in public? All of that, you know, how do we stop ourselves from letting our emotions flow? And where are they? And what triggers them? That's what we need to be writing down in our book of shadows, because that is where the transformation is. That's where it starts. Emotional maturity. And, you know, not being the crab going sideways to avoid something wherever possible, but being brave and really stepping into, okay, I need to actually be with this if I can and find out what is going on here, you know, so having the courage to speak up. So remember, as we go into the Mayan New Year, which again, I'm not going to talk too much about, but we're coming into Leo energy. We're coming into magnetic moon at that time. So we're starting a whole new process at that point. And so now we're really focusing on our sovereignty and joy, what makes life joyful for us in a healthy way. Sorry, I've got a bit of lag on the internet here. Black Moon Lilith in Leo, it's been there the whole time this year. And so again, our contrary Mary, where are we saying, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not having that. I'm not having this ill-informed, coming from a place of shadow, fear projection, and not living that life. And really tuning into our heart. So Venus in Leo is really helping us to do that. Mercury coming in, I have Sun and Mercury in Leo, the language of love, the language of courage, being able to speak that more and more from a really genuine place as well, not people pleasing, not trying to appease somebody or manipulate them. And so again, the Venus retrograde is going to be coming in. I have so many notes here. I've been doing so much research. So our childhood with Cancer, with Leo. And again, at the moment, we're in this waning moon energy. We've had the full moon was at 11 degrees of Capricorn. And so again, where that was in your chart is really important. We're looking at, in number 11, letting go of old ways of patriarchy that are no longer serving us. And also stepping into discipline, being disciplined with our habits, our patterns. I've been harping on about this now for years if you watch my videos. And I'm not saying I've been doing it the whole time either, because I haven't. But I know that a lot of the habits that I do, they're trying to create a blood chemistry change for me. So sugar, for example, quick fix when you're tired. But unless we stop doing that, when is it ever going to end? When are we ever going to be in a holograph where we don't need to do that anymore? So important. So at the same time, so this is on the 17th of July, we've got this new moon in Cancer. We've got the North Node is then going into Aries, and the South Node is in Libra. And this is going to last for 1.5 years approximately. So where this is in your chart is really important. I'm going to be talking in depth about this on the workshop for women on the new moon, because this is lighting the fire right now on our story, on our journey, on our new beginnings. And this moon today in Aries is so important. I'm going to be talking about the meridians and how they work in our body. So again, Aries meridian is about the lung and grief, and so much more than that. You can work with that energy every day. I'm going to be talking about the meridian clock, what time that takes place. So I'm making my video now at the Leo's time, which is from 11 to 1 p.m. Again, you can cherry pick these things and you can really start to focus and drill down deep. This is what we need to do, drill down deep. There's going to be significant times throughout July when there's going to be things happening in the starry skies. And again, do I need to know this really? No, you don't. It will happen anyway. The more that you know and you work with conscious awareness, you can set intentions. You can perhaps have an easier response to it, because there are going to be some challenging things coming up, of course. Challenging things are what make us shift. The new moon is at 24 degrees. And so again, this, where this is in your chart, is going to be huge. I'm going to be talking about the times in our lives when it's occurred in the past. I mean, you know, a new moon and a new north node. It's fundamentally massive, isn't it? And so again, the more you start to map your code, the more you can see, okay, that was happening for me back then. And it's like, wow, it is just like a huge illumination, a light going on. Okay, so I know what themes I was working with, and I know what's going to be coming up for me. And anything that you've got that's still resonating around fear, around that, you can learn how to tap, you can learn how to use the movie technique. It's so important. A lot of people don't use that, and that's the mastery, really. That's how we start to get really, really clear. So, have I got anything else to say? I think that's quite a lot, isn't it, really? So, I mentioned the North Node, and the South Node in Libra is the bladder meridian. Okay. Now, if you are interested in energy, this is a biggie, okay? Because the bladder meridian is linked to so many things now. And traditional medicine does not focus on these deeper things. It just focuses on treating the symptoms. When we go deeper, we understand how the bladder meridian is linked to our chi, to our energy, to our life force, and what purpose it serves. And the more we allow ourselves to get in touch with our emotions and have a technique, emotional freedom technique that we can use every day, which I will be talking about and we will be using at the Moon Circle, the more we can start to relax. When I first learned EFT, it changed my whole life, because I knew that if anything came up that triggered my emotions, I'm a very emotional person, I'm a very sensitive person, I have Saturn in Pisces, and I'm going through with my Saturn return now. I knew I could sit down with myself and start to process that and just let my emotions come out, and that actually it was okay, because for years I've been stuffing them down and trying to be a good girl. And how many of you have been in the same situation, are still in the same situation, are still resisting what is, still hoping that somebody's going to change? We are the ones that have to focus on ourselves. We are the ones who change. We are the ones who let go. We are the ones who are birthing the new earth through us. Working with our root chakra is so important, because when we work on the lower chakras, then the tree is balanced, it gets its nutrition, it's connecting to source, it's all linked into our mothers, and it's so important that we heal those wounds, we heal those behaviors, so that we can create these new structures from within, and therefore out in the holograph. That's the magic, and that's how structure works. From within, getting clear, download the information from source that is true, free of distortions, free of codependency, free of a need for anything, for anyone. That doesn't mean that we don't want to be interdependent. We absolutely do. We do need to be supported in a healthy way. All of us, we're all in it together. This is the new age of Aquarius. What we don't need is codependency, addiction, distortion. And so on a personal level, we have to get clear on that. Each one of us will change the pixel, will change the bigger picture, will change the whole of that. So I think that is it. I'll show you the cat. She's totally zonked. My cat and dog are now hitting it off, which is wonderful. It took a long time, but they got there in the end. And it is that, just allowing these things to happen. Oh, I know what I want to show you. This is my new accessory. And unfortunately, I left my old one behind. So somebody will have a little gift of that. That was a vintage one. But this is for growing my seeds. And on a moon gardening level, Cancer moon waxing is a beautiful, beautiful time to plant seeds. Of course, each plant has its own preference. And when you use moon gardening, it helps us understand not only the plants and the seeds and the universal time, it also helps us understand ourselves and not try and overdo things because we've been programmed to. It's trusting the process now and being grounded to Mother Earth. We're always held and we're always loved. So I'll put a link below to the workshop. If you can click like and if you can subscribe, that will really help the algorithm. And I am also going to be setting up a new channel, and I will do a video about that when it's ready. So lots of love to you all. Hope you have an amazing day. Bye for now.